Hi, I'm Shawn Lynch. I'm joined by Jansen, and we're doing our boys playoff preview here. Rough start out of the gate. We had Buhack Colony go on the road and kind of trip up after the first quarter there at Vacaville.
Yeah, they jump out to an 18-10 lead. Talking to Coach John Bliss after the game, he kind of thought that the bus drive might have had an effect on his kids, but you would think if they had an effect, it'd be in the first quarter coming out kind of slow, but they came out a lot of energy. They go up 18-10, and then just a horrible second quarter. They outscored in the second quarter by Vacaville 26-5. They go down by 12 at halftime, something like that. Just giving up layup after layup. The middle of the key just kind of opened like the Red Sea for Vacaville, and they got going out in transition. And then Buhack hit one of those lulls where they just couldn't buy a basket. They had like 3 or 4 shots that kind of rolled halfway down and came out. And so that was it for Buhack. They did well to make the playoffs, just it wasn't their night on Friday night.
All right, let's move on to our teams that are still around. We'll start in D3. We got El Capitan, the WAC champions, headed to Manteca. Tough test. Tough introduction to the playoffs for El Capitan here.
Yeah, congratulations for going 21-6. You face a Manteca team that's as big as a high school team that I've seen in the southern half in a long time.
Yeah, we're laughing at their Max Preps picture where they everybody else looks normal, and then they have their 3 guys that are 6'8" and up just stand out like grown men.
Yeah, I believe Wooden is one of the 6'9", averaging 13 points, 10 rebounds. I think he's going to Sac State. Hundal's averaging 16 points, and then their point guard Dwight Young, who's kind of their catalyst. I think he's averaging about 12 points a game. So it's going to be a tough task against El Capitan. They're going to have to make shots because they're not going to get a lot of second shots against that big lineup.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be huge for them to negate the second chances for Manteca. Reno Bandoni's going to have to play big. Joshua Stewart's going to have to play big. They don't have a ton of size inside, so they're going to have to play bigger than they actually are.
Yeah, and their guard's going to have to put a lot of pressure. They can't just – they're going to have to really put pressure on the ball, make it tough to pass inside.
No, El Cap's definitely at its best when it's forcing turnovers anyway, so hopefully they'll be able to apply their pressure, force some turnovers, and not allow Manteca to get in their half-court sets.
But you talked to Chris Tufts last week. They're looking forward to the challenge of playing Manteca.
Yeah, you got to beat the best eventually in the playoffs, so that they're not going to shy away from this opportunity. They've had an excellent year. They've got some excellent players. Marcus not. His nephew Isaiah Knott will be going to UC Merced next year, and he's been a leader for them all season. James and Mark Sellers have been, consistent point producers and really solid shooters from the outside. You got Jared Latono, who's kind of their swing guy. He can do a little of everything for them. They've been a good, solid team, but we're going to find out what they're made of on Wednesday night.
Yeah, and it's really a game. There's no pressure on El Cap going into this. They're the underdog, nothing to lose. So just come out and swing away.
All right, Mariposa, a team that made a run to the semifinals a year ago. They're going to be hosting Ripon Christian in D5.
Yeah. Really impressive, the Grizzlies. I mean, you look at what they lost from last year's team, a team that went undefeated in league. They go undefeated again, perfect through the Southern League. They're led by the Rockwood brothers, Noah and Dalton, both having good years. And then they got a nice shooter in Bradley Chambers. Interesting that they faced Ripon Christian earlier this year.
Yeah, we heard some grumbles about this one, that there was a huge free throw disparity. Upwards of 40-ish for Mariposa and only 5 for Ripon Christian. So RC fans were not excited, apparently, when they heard they'd be headed back to Mariposa. Mariposa won that by 13, I believe.
Yeah, 81-68.
Incidentally, that was the last time Mariposa's had a game within 20 points. So that's my only concern for them, just they haven't had a lot of competition in the last month and a half of the season. And, will that affect them, I guess, against a quality opponent?
Yeah, you're going to go cover that game, and my advice with that, Jim, is get there early.
All right, lastly, we got Delhi going and facing the top seed in
Central Catholic?
Yeah,
D6.
Central Catholic in D6. One of the more amusing tweets we saw during the online special that the CIF does every year when they announced the seedings was I think one of our fellow sports writers up in Stockton was already anticipating Central Catholic moving on, and Brian De La Porta, the Delhi coach, tweeted back, "Hey, who said Central Catholics winning the game?" I think that's the attitude you got to have. You
you're
got to
coming in
go
7-17.
You got absolutely nothing to lose here, and go in with the attitude that you're going to shock the world.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It would shock the world if they pulled this off, especially coming from the Southern League, a third-place team facing one of these VOL powers. But heck, just give it your best. That's what the playoffs are all about.
All right, we appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you out there.